Okay, we just gonna get into it today, and we're gonna talk about PMS. Did you know that there is a metaphysical, spiritual root cause of womb disease? Of every womb disease, of every womb discomfort, or womb vaginal infection, any womb disorder, anything happening in the womb, there is a metaphysical, there is a spiritual, sorry y'all, there is a spiritual energy behind this disease, this discomfort. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Did you know specifically, right? Because we're going to talk about PMS. Specifically, I'm talking about intense symptoms of PMS. Okay, I'm talking about your breast feeling like it's swollen, like it's going to just pop, right? Very like intense feeling and painful breasts. I'm talking about extreme back pain, feeling like vomiting, extreme, intense, painful menstrual cramps, which I had suffered from for years, since my teenage years, or since I got my period at the age of a teenager, all the way almost to my late 20s when I started to heal my womb. This is what I'm talking about, okay? So these are the symptoms that I'm talking about. Extreme moodiness. Okay, you don't know how to behave, and or you can't really monitor your or control your emotions. This is what I'm talking about when I'm explaining, when I'm talking about PMS, menstrual pain, right? And I'm talking about, and I'm going to clarify today. Okay, so we're going to talk about it. This is very important that we understand now the deeper aspects of womb illnesses. Okay, that's the only way we can begin to heal. So, what are the metaphysical? What's the metaphysical energy of this specific topic that I'm talking about, especially menstrual cramps? If you're still dealing with menstrual cramps in 2025, let me know in the comments section. I would really like to know, because there's so many things that you can do, so many tips that just so many things that I've done and that I've expressed to my clients and had them try it, and it worked. And so there's so many things you could do to heal this. All right, but you also have to understand why energetically you are calling this energy to you at the same time, because that's what it's about. It's about accountability. Womb work is about accountability. So a woman with menstrual cramps, I'm talking about intense menstrual cramps. First of all, in 2025, no woman should be experiencing these symptoms. You should now know. And maybe you don't, and I'm not going to fault you for that, but you should now understand that menstrual cramps and intense PMS symptoms, such as the ones I spoke about briefly earlier, are not normal. Menstrual cramps are not normal. The reason why it's happening, hold on, y'all. Give me a second. The reason why a woman would be experiencing menstrual cramps still, right, at this moment in her life, is because there are clots within her uterine lining. And remember, a menstrual cramping is contraction. It's like if you've had a baby before, you understand. Oh, let me see if I can get some more light up in here. Oopsies. Probably not. Okay. If you've had a child, you understand the concept of contractions. This is the same. It feels the same way when you are having a menstrual cramp as well as when you are getting ready to give birth. You should only feel this level of pain, excuse me, if you are going to give birth. But if you're feeling this intense cramping and this intense action in your womb, okay, and feeling in your womb every cycle, every month, then what's happening is you have such big menstrual clots, blood clots in your womb, so much so that your body has to squeeze harder. That is what we're talking about when we're talking about a menstrual cramp. That's what we're talking about. We're talking about contractions. The contractions should be so easeful during a cycle, a menstrual bleed. There should be no reason, unless there's obstruction within your uterine lining, okay? Within your uterine lining. If there is obstruction because of the things that you've been eating and putting in your body, because of smoking, because of alcohol, drinking, excessive heavy processed meats, and never cleansing and never drinking herbal teas after you eat each meal that has such heavy processed meats, red meats especially. This is actually the reasonings behind such severe menstrual cramps. It's what you're putting in your body, and your body has to detoxify that during your menstrual cycle, because your menstrual cycle is technically a detoxifying mechanism. Every month a woman's body detoxifies by way of the menstrual cycle. So with that being said, okay, it's not normal. A woman that is experiencing chronic menstrual pain, such as cramping, such as blood clots, such as increased amounts of mood swings and feeling very tiresome, no energy, lack of energy, feeling like vomiting, those are extreme. That's not normal. And so what's happening is this woman is spiritually, energetically holding in self-expression. She is not self-expressing herself. She has no creative outlook, and also she doesn't have the creative path. Okay, there's no execution when it comes to a thought. She has a thought in her mind of how to do something, or she doesn't have the thought at all, but she has the thought of doing something for herself that is creative. It doesn't have to be art, but even changing her room up, right? Even switching up some things in the house, washing dishes, even little things like that. And yet you don't do it, right? You let your creative energy stay stagnant stay stagnant, and it has no way to express itself. This is a woman that will have intense cramping, intense pains, because you're not releasing. There's things stuck spiritually. There's ideas stuck spiritually in your womb. And then there's, on the physical, there's physically foods, right? Things that you've put in your body that's stuck in your womb, in your uterus. You see how that works? But spiritually, energetically, it happens first. And then on the physical, you're moving on with your life, you're eating things, but because you are depressed, because you have, I'm going to break it down, but because of all these other things that are internal and spiritual, it's not necessarily easily seen by people or by yourself. These are the causes. This is the root cause. So let's get into it. This kind of woman feels powerless. Okay, she doesn't know her power. She doesn't know where she stands in the universe. She doesn't have a place in life. She almost feels displaced. All right. Or she has, again, like I spoke about, she has no sense of self-expression. Okay, so there's a lack of creativity in this kind of woman. All right, so we really have to get into that deep work. Going forward 2025 to 2026, this is the work that I've been called to share. I've been called to share about the deep spiritual manifestations of womb diseases. Okay, I started off teaching about yoni steams, selling products and ebooks on basic physical healing modalities. Now it's time to talk about the spiritual. This kind of woman suppresses her anger. Yes, a woman with premenstrual syndrome, which all women go through, a woman that is experiencing it at a high level, intensely, where so much so where she cannot function. This is a woman that is suppressing herself. This is a woman that is suppressing her anger. There's a lot of fire in this woman. And so this fire energetically needs to be digested by way, like I said, the menstrual cycle is a form of detoxification for women, meaning you detox through so many ways, right? You can detox through the skin, through the pores, but by way of the womb, when it comes to the womb, detoxification is happening through your bowel movements, your gut, okay? But everything is so interconnected that you can be releasing through the heart. You can be releasing through the mind, through your words, okay? A woman's powerhouse is her mouth, right? Because a woman that is very disconnected to the power of her mouth and her throat chakra, she's not wise when it comes to speaking. She doesn't think before she speaks. She doesn't know how to believe in her words. She doesn't realize that her word is her bond. But this is also the same woman that is a broken woman. This is the woman that will feel these kinds of pains when it comes to the womb, because again, it's all interconnected. Okay, so let's see what else. This is a woman that rejects her femininity. Okay, she rejects her femininity and she rejects the feminine process. So she's angry at her cycle. She's angry and doesn't honor her bleed, her menstrual bleed. When you honor your menstrual cycle, when you honor your menstrual bleed, you begin to fall in love with your womb and the processes, and you are grateful and humble, right? And you have such a love and almost humility, like, wow, like, I get it, I feel you, you speak through me. You allow me to see whether I'm healthy or not. And that takes a level of accountability. And when you are accountable for your body, for your womb, then things begin to change. Things begin to change in your life, and you begin to feel better and heal better. So, a woman that is experiencing these symptoms, this womb pain, this chronic monthly womb dis-ease, because really it is, your body is not at ease, so it is a dis-ease, because continuously every month you need a heating pad, you need Tylenol and Midol. I don't take any of that anymore. And I was the girl that used to kick the walls on my period when I was a teenager. I grew up in my 20s, it wasn't that bad, or I had built in so much self-suffering that I got used to the pain, and so I would just hold my stomach tight. That was the most that I could do, and I would take my pills. I didn't want to live off the pills anymore, because these pills, right? These Tylenol, and all of these medications, okay, these prescribed medications, they eventually they hurt the liver. They kill the energetics of the liver. All right, and so the liver is here to help you process and detoxify. Why are you taking things that is poisoning your liver for years and years and years? And then we get older and we age, and we're wondering why we develop all these diseases. So spiritually, you are riddled with guilt and fear. That's another one. You have so much fear trapped into your body, into your mind, into your aura, that you don't even know about. You think you real like tough because you're holding on to pain, and you like it. Okay, you actually like and expect for you to feel some sort of a pain monthly, because you feel that's tied to your femininity. You feel like that's tied to your womanhood, when really it's the complete contrast is there should be no contraction. Why are you contracting every month? Physically, energetically, why is your womb contracting? Why is the uterine lining, why are you getting blood clots every month? Why is this happening? Right? Why do you need your heating pad and some pills every month? Because there's a lot of contraction in your life, spiritually, energetically. There's move forward, stop, move forward, stop. There's going backwards and going forwards, going backwards and going forwards, when really you should be going forward. The body loves when you move forward and onward. That means you're growing. A contracted womb is a womb that is this, there's stagnant energy. There's no flow in your life. You're not going. You staying stuck in cycles, and that is the contraction. Yep, contraction is like trying to get it out. You're only stagnant, right? Because you're not getting out the old. Get out the old so that the new blood can flow in. The new blood can flow in and cleanse your body. This is very important. We have to understand the spiritual energetics of the womb. Okay? And so there's a constant pattern of fighting changes in your life. That is a womb that is experiencing contraction, menstrual pain, menstrual cramping. Okay? Constant contraction when it comes to moving forward, when it comes to change. So when there is change that is suggested by others, keep note, then you contract, or you get argumentative, or in your mind you argue with yourself and you say, oh, that idea is not that good, or you find a way to contract it. You find a way to sabotage, right? The newness, the idea, the creativity. All right, let me know if this is resonating with some of the things that you've seen, in other women or yourself. So just to reiterate, we are talking about the woman that is experiencing intense symptoms of PMS, premenstrual syndrome, okay, as well as, and I want to just put this in, specifically menstrual cramps, but there's also other symptoms, okay, symptoms that proves or that shows and expresses itself through you eat very irrational, right? Irrational symptoms. Symptoms that doesn't make sense, and you're getting this every month as soon as your cycle comes. Your cycle is the cycle of life. This is how the body in the womb expresses itself and says, we're starting over. We're going to change. We're going to grow. That is the divine woman. The divine woman is always changing and growing and shedding the old so she can bring the new flow in, so she can bring the new blood in, right? So the body, the womb can, and so the blood can flow through without any obstruction. That means so that the message or the creative idea or this newness in your life, whether you need to move, right? Maybe you need to move out of your city. Maybe you need to get a new job. Your womb will signify these things as well. So this kind of this kind of woman, spiritually, energetically, has a really victim mindset. She doesn't take charge of her life. She lets others, because if you don't take charge of your life, someone else will. This is what's happening to a woman with PMS, a premenstrual syndrome. This is what's happening to a woman that's experiencing intense, chronic, painful period cramps, where she still has to take pills, where she still has to wear a heating pad, where she feels like vomiting, where she has intense back pain, her breast feels like they're about to pop. Okay? This is a woman, again, that is extremely, she feels like a victim in her life. She feels powerless. And she may not appear like that, right? This might not, it might not come off like that. She might come off strong. Excuse me. And really strong and fun. Might have a lot of friends, right? So those are all covers, right? Those are all covers, because women are really good at covering things up, covering their emotions up, until you really get to know them. And then if you're aware, you can see, right, that things are not all right. So inner child wounds, okay? Inner child wounds, your inner child wounds and your inner thoughts, they hold such a strong, powerful vibration in your body that it affects your cycle. Okay, so inner child healing is going to be important when it comes to this chronic dis-ease, discomfort. And again, like I said, y'all, I've experienced this for years, up until I started to heal my womb through womb steaming. All right, so one way that you can practice to begin to detoxify your womb is womb steaming, hands down. Yoni steaming, they call it. I am a womb practitioner, and it's something that has worked not only for me but for my clients. You just have to. This is something hands down. Number one, this is one of the first things that I have my clients do is sit on that steam, sit on that pot. It is the most ancestral practices that helps to detoxify the womb. Okay, it's the practice of the use of water and herbs. That's it, water and herbs and a seat. So let's go back and to just like reiterate. I think we're all done. So this woman, again, she holds a constant state of rage, anger, and confusion, mental confusion. She's not right necessarily in the head. Of course she appears like she is. She's going to work like regular, normal for the most part. But this is spiritual. This is what I mean. That deep work where it makes you look at yourself and you have to self-evaluate. You have to hold yourself accountable. This is so though I'm only here for women that are ready for deep inner work. Not for the ones that are in denial and want to pick up a pill every month and you're okay with that. If you're okay with that, I'm not for you. Okay? But if you want to be aware of your body and you want to never have menstrual period cramps, ever feel cramps when you're about to have your period, you won't even really know unless you're very intuitive and you can kind of like sense a little, because you'll get a little nudge. I get a little nudge too, like in my womb. Like I might feel a little something, tiny, like a speck. Okay, but it's nothing like it when you don't feel that kind of pain no more. You feel free. This is when your self-love journey begins. I talk about self-love a lot, and I will start talking about self-love practices more. This is one of the ways that one of the first things that I had to do was heal my womb, heal my menstrual cycle. Okay, so you are not that this woman is not aware of her bodily functions and her physical body. Okay, so she's not aware that she doesn't know anything about her womb. She doesn't know anything about her yoni. Okay, she wasn't taught, and there's shame there. There's some shame there where she doesn't want to learn. Okay, she's okay with just knowing that her period is supposed to be painful. That's what she believes. All right, so this person is argumentative just for the sake of being disagreeable. Okay, this woman, spiritually, energetically, some of the spiritual manifestations and root causes, or the way that it shows up spiritually and energetically, these are some of the ways. This is the metaphysical, the energetics, the spiritual root causes of this specific topic of PMS, of premenstrual syndrome, as well as of painful period cramps and blood clots. Okay, and heavy bleeding. So that's that, y'all. Okay, and we're gonna briefly hold on. Let me see. I got a little bit of some notes. So we're gonna talk about. I'm gonna create a workshop, y'all. I'm gonna create a workshop because this has to be a group session. I'm gonna create a workshop where we're talking about how to heal these what healing modalities, womb healing modalities that a woman needs to use or practice, and as rituals to heal their wombs. But for now, I'm going to talk about one of the first things that you're going to need is you're going to need to start. You're going to, I guess, like I said, you need to womb steam. You're going to need anti-spasmodic herbs. Look it up. Anti-spasmodic herbs. Herbs like cramp bark and wild yam. You're also going to need lots of loving herbs. So you're going to need herbs like herbs or flowers like rose and lavender. Okay, and then you are going to also need a soothing herb, an all-encompassing herb. I call this the mother herb, raspberry leaf. This is a womb healing herb. This is a menstrual cycle herb. Okay, so you're going to do this through sipping teas daily, 3 times a day, and womb steams. All right, comment, like, share. and follow.